Okay, we're broadcasting across America now and to all the ships at sea, so let's get going. Madam Clerk, when you're ready, let's do a roll call.
Bell. Here. Curran.
Here.
Freeling. Present. Harrison. Hinkleman. Here. Bitchford. Bitchford. Tyler. Here. Walrath. Warple. Here. Yarbrough. Elliott.
Here.
Mr. Chair, we have 9.
Thank you. Commissioner Pitchford won't be joining us today. Is Commissioner Yarbrough coming? Did she say when you talked with her?
She did not say, but we did talk this morning.
Okay.
I would anticipate she'll be here.
I missed a call from her about an hour ago, so.
Harrison will be.
Right, I knew Bob was going, so. Okay, minutes from the 23rd of October.
Mr. Chair, I'd make a motion that we approve those minutes.
Moved by Freeling,
I'll second it.
supported by Tyler. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, same sign. Those minutes are approved. Requisition review with Annette.
Morning. Anybody got any questions about the requisition list? Thank you.
Thank you. We need to pause this meeting and start a public hearing about the Berrien Hills at River's Edge Brownfield plan. Is there a motion to pause this meeting and start the public hearing?
I'll second it.
Moved by Warfel, seconded by Tyler. For this, we do need a roll call.
Curran.
Yes.
Freeling.
Yes.
Hinkleman.
Yes.
Ott.
Yes.
Tyler.
Yes.
Walrath.
Yes.
Warple.
Yes.
Yarbrough. Oh, sorry. Oh, there she is. Okay. 8:41.
Hey, I'm sorry, I missed your call.
Bell.
Yes.
And Elliott.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Okay, we are now in a public hearing to hear from the Community Development Director about the River's Edge Brownfield plan.
Good morning, everyone. Another brownfield project for you. I think this is the third one in 3 months now. So this one pertains to the former Berrien Hills Golf Course. It's a development that's being proposed by a recently created LLC that acquired the property, I think, last year. We have some guests with us today. I want to introduce Grant Deaton with Ridge Construction, Ridge Development, one of the owners and developers of the project. Joe Augustinelli is with us with Michigan Growth Advisors. He's the consultant to the developer. And then we have Denise Cook, the clerk, former clerk, current manager of St. Joe Charter Township, and Roger Seeley, the supervisor of St. Joe Charter Township, which is the location of where the project is. So I'm going to run through this presentation. This is a truncated version of the same presentation I've given you in the past, but I think that I've eliminated some of the slides because I think we don't need to kind of go through the kind of technical legal details of Act 381. We've repeated that enough now that I think everyone should have a familiarity with it. I'm going to describe the project, talk about the what the site looks like, what the proposed development is going to be. We'll talk about the basis of eligibility, why this should be included in a brownfield plan, and then these section 13 requirements that we go through step by step to show that it meets the requirements of the act. So this again, I'll show you the maps, but this pertains to the former Berrien Hills Golf Course in St. Joe Township on the corner of Napier Avenue and Miami Road. Berrien Hills at River's Edge LLC intends to undertake a redevelopment of this site. They're proposing 2 phases, and we're only looking at the first phase right now. You'll see that in the site design. It's a proposed mixed-use 180 residential unit development that includes 120 apartments, 10 studio units, 65 one-bedroom units, 45 two-bedroom units, 20 cottages, and 40 condominium units in total. Now, of those 180 units, 60 will be income restricted. We've talked in the past about the affordability requirements of having a household of 120% of AMI or less available to rent these apartments on a fixed rent basis. Of those 60 income restricted apartments, 9 will be studio, 3 one-bedroom units, and 16 two-bedroom units. The project also includes 19,500 square feet of new commercial space along Napier Avenue. That'll be ground floor space with residential units above it. Total investment in this phase alone is estimated to be $82 million. If weather permitting and timing works for us, I think that the developer intends to begin demolition before the end of the year. with construction phases occurring next spring, carrying out through a full build out phase of 2020 or 2030. In order to include housing projects within a brownfield plan, we have to assert that there is an identifiable housing need in the community. You've seen these numbers before. Southwest Michigan Planning Commission's Housing Diagnostic Tool reported in the fall of 2023 that there's an estimate of about 23,000 new residential units needed to be constructed or brought online in order to meet the current housing demand in Berrien County. There's also a strong need for missing middle housing for households earning between $50,000 and $100,000 a year, with the demand for about 2,900 units in that cohort. So there is a huge, you can see, we've talked in the past, a large demand for what you would call workforce housing or missing middle housing needs. Additionally, the state housing plan shows that the data in the St. Joe Fairplain area that approximately 41% of renter households are cost burdened, meaning the rents are exceeding their ability to pay. The median year of houses built in this area is 1965. This happens to be my neighborhood. I can tell you, just visually, you can tell that that's the case. There are all the post-war ranch houses everywhere. Approximately 58.7% of the housing stock was built before 1970, indicating that the aging housing stock is essentially at risk of functional obsolescence at this point. There's been very little new housing constructed in this neighborhood since the early 1970s, late 1960s. In order for property to be included in a brownfield plan as housing property, it has to meet the definition of housing property, which is property that has one residential housing unit constructed on it, one or more residential housing units constructed upon it. This, of course, we have 180 residential units constructed, 60 of which are reserved for income restricted households, and therefore it qualifies as eligible property under Act 381. This is the location of the site. I think everyone's probably familiar with it. We have Napier Avenue and Miami coming in this direction. The hospital, of course, is right here, and there's the Napier Bridge. This is the old golf course for everyone who's ever played golf down there in years past. The site design, to orient you, this kind of flipped on its side, but this is Napier right here. Here's the Napier Bridge. Here's Miami Road. This is the old golf course with the river edge along it. The development we're talking about today deals with only the first phase, and this is the outline in red. It'll include the housing units, new interior road system constructed, terminating here with cottages down here, condominium units here and here. The commercial is going to be essentially right there along the ridge line. If anyone remembers this site, there's a steep drop right here down to what is essentially a watershed area. There are plans for the future development of the old course itself down near the water, but there are some elements that the developer is having to negotiate with FEMA, because FEMA put forth new floodway maps that basically says this line right here is everything above this is a floodway and excluded from development. So there's some negotiations right now with FEMA about whether or not those maps can be revised to allow more development down there. If that happens, not central to what we're discussing today, but if FEMA is willing or able to revise those maps, I believe the second phase of this project may move forward in about a year or so. The eligible activities to be paid out of tax increment revenues include the following: demolition, lead and asbestos, mold abatement, infrastructure work of almost $8.2 million or more, site preparation of 5.6, some incidental costs for the preparation of work plans and implementation of the brownfield plan. The large one here is the housing financing gap. This is the one where we talk about we have a rent level assigned by HUD. Then we have a rent level signed by MSHDA of what a family at 120 AMI can afford, and the difference between the HUD stated rent level and the fixed rent for the income restricted household. That's the housing financing gap that we pay for by using tax increment revenue collection. Total cost for the project, including interest and contingency, is estimated to be $44 million. The project is expected to last 30 years. The repayment, at least, is going to last 30 years. With the rental subsidies remaining for 25 of those 30 years. Here, this is what I just kind of explained. We have the control rent, right? Studio apartment, 1,900 a month. The projected rent that a family or a household at 120 AMI can afford, I think that is actually calculated 100% of AMI. The difference between the two is the rent loss. We take that, we multiply it by the number of units. That's the annual rent loss for the studios. Total rent loss over a 25-year period is 1.6 million. We add that up and there's your total rent loss. I think everyone, we've been through this enough. Everyone's probably familiar with how the math works on this. We expect that the total tax increment revenue capture over a 30-year period is going to be $25 million in local tax increment revenues and $20 million in school revenues. The county over a 30-year period, this will be the tax revenue collection from the county, 5.4 million. We can see, let me go where the township general is about 800,000. The big one for the township is their public safety millage that'll be captured, 6.7 million. And then of course the schools make up almost half of the amount of tax capture eligible for this project. Additional requirements under section 13 is we have to state the method by which the plan will be financed. The cost of this plan is being advanced entirely by the developer. There are no advances from the county or other local government units, no public debt associated with this. Maximum amount of bonded note or indebtedness, again, there's none, no public debt. The proposed beginning date and the duration of the capture, we expect that the tax capture will begin in tax year 2028. So 26 will be site preparation, 27 vertical construction begins, 2028 that comes online for tax capture and moving forward. It's going to take 30 years to repay the eligible cost plus interest. I've already shown you an estimation of the future revenues. They are in table 2 of the plan if anyone cares to see more details on that. I've given you a description of the site, the location. We've reviewed the site plan. We've talked about the characteristics of the property, meeting the definition of housing property. And finally, there is no personal property tax capture associated with. There won't be a lot of personal property to begin with because of this relatively small amount of commercial space. That would be the only area where you'd see taxable commercial or taxable personal property on the development. Other materials that the county board may consider as pertinent in your decision today. The proposed property is consistent with St. Joe Township's master plan. St. Joe Township Planning Commission and the Board of Trustees have previously approved the PUD and the site plan for this development. I think that was almost 3 years ago now, sometime around there. On October 6th, the Township Board of Trustees unanimously passed a resolution approving this brownfield plan. On October 9th, the Board of the Berrien County Brownfield Redevelopment Authority also unanimously passed a resolution recommending the approval of this plan for this board. Okay. So I'm happy to answer any questions you may have. I'm sure Township could answer any questions you may have of the local units, and the developers are here to answer any questions you may have of them.
Before we take questions, could we hear from the township briefly?
Okay. Everybody knows it's a beautiful piece of property and it's in a great spot in Berrien County. Not only is it good for our township, but it's also good for the hospital employees. It's a great place for them to have housing. They can walk across the bridge or get a zip line and go across the river or whatever, but it's just a perfect place in Berrien County. So.
Zip line sounds good.
And we're hoping that we can get the old clubhouse tore down by the end of the year.
Okay.
So we have a good start for next spring. So
Sure.
Denise,
Did
anything
you
you
wish
would
to
like
add
to share?
anything?
I think you covered it.
Okay, very good.
Okay.
The developers, anything they would like to share?
Yeah, just a quick introduction. My name is Grant Deaton. I'm a Senior Development Director at the Ridge Group, or TRG Construction and Development. I just want to say thank you all for the time this morning and in the consideration of this project. Our team is really excited about it and looking forward to transforming the old golf course into something beautiful. So thank you again.
Thank you. Any questions from around the horseshoe? Ma'am.
Thank you. I'm so thankful this is being done. I have a number of questions. Will there be any docks would there be any thought about having an area where boats can be?
Grant, if you could, yeah.
Absolutely. Currently in phase one, there's no consideration of the docks, just where it's on what we're calling the upper bluff. There wouldn't be any, I guess, easily accessible docks for that phase, but in future phases, yes, the intent was to have a dock or marina in the future. The line that Dan pointed out on the site plan where FEMA ate up, I think roughly 30% of our site, really kind of threw a loop into the larger master development. And so, yes, the hope and the plan is to still have a dock or marina in the future. It'll just look a little different than initially proposed, but that is the hope in the future, yes.
Good. I have a couple of questions. Will there be any half bathrooms or powder room in the houses? I think about you have a studio, you have a 1-bedroom and a 2-bedroom. I just want to know.
Yeah, absolutely. So the studios will roughly be 600 square feet. You could kind of look at these as what we call a junior 1-bedroom.
Yes,
And so it'll be 1 bed, 1 bath, full kitchen. Same thing with your 1-bedroom, 750 square feet, 1 bed, 1 bath. And then the 2 bedrooms will be 2 bedrooms, 2 baths, roughly 1,000 square feet throughout the property. And then on the cottages, I think we're planning for those to be either 2 or 3 bedroom units with either 2 or 3 bedroom, or excuse me, 2 or 2 bathrooms per cottage. And then the condos, I'm not sure what the exact mix is on those, but yes, there'll be at minimum 1 bathroom or more per condo.
and I don't want to know, it's can they have a 2-bedroom?
Yes, absolutely. One individual can certainly lease a 2-bedroom apartment. Obviously, the rent will just be more expensive than what it would be if they had a studio or 1-bedroom. But yes, there's no restrictions on who's able to lease any of these units. Of course, the 120% AMI or 100% AMI units, you'll have to income qualify for those. But I do want to make the point that those units will be physically indistinguishable from the market rate units. And so they'll have the same finishes, quartz countertops, tile backsplash, the whole kind of 9 yards, if you will. So they'll be one and the same. They'll be mixed in. It'll be a mixed income community. Your neighbor might be in a market rate unit, and then the next door neighbor is on a 120% AMI unit. And so there's no distinction or no separation of buildings that, hey, we're putting these folks over here, these folks over here. It's just a mixed income community.
That's so good. And one other thing, and you were here before and you may have talked about it, but will there be restaurants and places where you could rent for birthdays, weddings?
Absolutely. I think that would certainly be the intent. We're certainly early on in the process and would definitely look to hire, a local retail commercial broker to help us with those efforts to find those local shops and restaurants that want to be in this development. That is something certain that we envision having there to really create that mixed use community, very walkable, and really just create a buzz for the project.
Thank you. That answers everything. I'm gonna get married. I'm gonna get an apartment.
Yes, ma'am.
With a bath and a half. Okay, thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Yeah, absolutely.
Well, before you get married, you can have lunch and have your hair and nails.
That's right.
Oh, good. I need that.
Yeah. That's required. Alex.
So when it comes to, a lot of people take their side roads off of Napier to shortcut to the ramp. There's a lot of bad side roads out there. Who does that fall to? Because this is gonna be a lot of added traffic to that area. So who's responsible for making sure those roads are brought up to date before this project takes effect and that traffic is then using that?
A similar question came up with the Brownfield Authority. The interior road system of this project, because it's a PUD, these are private roads. They're not
Right.
constructed to county road widths or standards,
Right.
and they will be maintained by the homeowners association
That's so
within that.
good.
Now, the side roads, maintaining the side roads, we used to call them the Indian Village named roads, right?
Yep.
Those are township roads. And those are maintained based on essentially the capital maintenance capital maintenance calendar that the township agrees to with the road department. And, speaking as a resident of that area, and, I think Ray, you live over there somewhere near there as well. I mean, they've been doing one road after a road after a road. It seems like every summer we get about 2 of them resurfaced every year. So there is a capital maintenance program that goes on.
Right, but the developer's not responsible
No.
for paying any sort of
No, the developer maintains.
assistance to the,
No, they will build their own road system, and then as they own the project, they will maintain that road system, but they're not required to provide any additional capital
Right,
to the road structure.
Sir,
I have a question. I just want to commend the work done by the township board and the planning commission along with the developers and our Brownfield Authority. As part of the working class here in this area, it's just thrilling to know that work is being done to kind of provide housing for the working class in this community and try to close that gap for need for housing in this area. So thank you to the work that all of you have done, and I'm looking forward to seeing where this goes.
anyone, anyone else? Anyone in the audience wish to comment in the nature of public comment at a public hearing? All right, then, does anyone have anything else before we call the question?
We just have to go back to the regular
Right,
meeting.
right.
Yeah.
I know. Okay, then with that, is there a motion to?
Confusing me,
I
Mac.
know.
I'll make that
I
motion to go
should have
back
waited
to-
to say that after we got back in the regular session. Okay, so you're moving to conclude the public hearing and go back into regular session. Is there support? So moved by, supported by Werfel to close the public hearing and resume our regular meeting. We need a roll call to do that as well, Madam Clerk.
Freeling.
Yes.
Hinkleman. Ott.
Yes.
Tyler.
Yes.
Walrath.
Yes.
Wolfle.
Yes.
Yarborough.
Yes.
Bell.
Yes.
Curran.
Correct.
And
Yes.
Elliott.
Yes, let me take a quick peek at the agenda. Is this on the agenda?
It is, sir.
Okay, all right.
It's on the consent calendar.
Consent calendar, yeah, it's resolution ending in 344. Okay, well, when you're at the dentist, we will be calling the question. But just so we know, are you good with it?
Oh, yeah.
Okay,
I'm on Brownfield, so.
right. Okay, we're back in regular session. I'd say the odds are very good that when this comes up at 10:30, it's going to be approved. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman,
Sir.
before the supervisor leaves the room, I've heard in the past that he claims ownership of very pleasant weather. Is today one of those days?
Can't guarantee tomorrow. Next night, the CEO, hopefully there'll be sunshine as we get there.
We will cross our fingers.
Thank you.
Okay, great. Good to see you. What's next? Now we can do regular public comments if there are any. Not public comments for the Brownfield plan, but anything in general. No? Okay,
Mr. Chair, just since we have a little time, decision was made to cancel today's BC Bit meeting.
okay.
So for anyone who is planning to attend virtually or in person, that meeting has been canceled just due to lack of business.
Okay,
Essentially, we're waiting for the federal government to reopen and
yeah, I was
the
gonna say,
announcement.
yeah. And then PHS isn't going to meet because Bob's gone, Shokway's gone, and Julie will be gone within the hour.
Okay,
What, we would have had what?
PHS is not going to meet, but finance and admin are meeting business as usual. And what PHS had can wait for another week, as I understand. I think a grade step advance or
I'll
something.
sign the resolutions that come forward next week before I leave.
Okay. All right, announcements were closed on November 11 for Veterans Day. We're planning not to meet on Thanksgiving Day. I know that's a shock. And then, since we've got a little bit of a window, before we started the meeting, Julie mentioned that she'd like to talk about GLP-1 while she's still here. I had circulated a note to the board following a conversation I had with the administrator on Tuesday. And GLP-1 is the drug that's prescribed for diabetes, but also prescribed for weight loss. And there are others that are out there, and it is a fast-moving pharmaceutical in terms of injectables, and then there's oral meds that are on the horizon. The more there are, the more competition there generally is. Competition promotes better pricing. I was reading that Costco executive members get an extra break now on their costs because Costco is now one of the biggest pharmacies in the US. Of course, so is Walmart. And right now we have a resolution that pulls coverage for these products, except for someone who has a diagnosis of diabetes, type 2 diabetes, or I think pre-diabetes from their physician. Has to be a osteopath or a medical doctor who prescribes it. And the note I circulated after talking with Brian looked at the National Institutes of Health and the database that they maintain on all of the illnesses that are tied to chronic obesity. I did print it and bring it with me, but I remember all of the joint replacements that come from obesity because gravity. The more you weigh, the more gravity wears on your joints, your hip joints, your knee joints, heart disease, kidney failure, even cancer. Several strains of cancer are accelerated by obesity. So, and of course, losing your vision. There's a parade of horribles that come from not addressing obesity. And as we discussed Tuesday, we pay under our insurance plan for gastric bypass surgery, which is, you've hit that point where the obesity is threatening your life. And now we're going to pay. And I think they go in and staple things, or they cut things off to basically shrink your stomach or something to try to save your life. But at that point, you've done a lot of damage to your knees, to your hips, to your heart, to everything, because of the systemic challenges that are caused by obesity. It dates me to say this, but the first time I was vice chair of the board was 1989, 1990. In the summer of 1990, I remember being in a meeting with Blue Cross as we were switching carriers. So we hired them 35 years ago. And we really haven't looked at whether it's a good fit 35 years later. There very well may be resources that they can provide that we just aren't tapping. And one of those could very well be a cost benefit review. There are things that hopefully they could provide us in terms of, well, here are coverage options, or here are ways to approach this. Here are ways to pool your resources to have greater buying power to negotiate pricing with pharmaceuticals. And if we've done none of that, we should be doing that. So I'd like to put together a group comprised of the board chairs and the vice chairs, committees, and Terry and I, and have a working group who can meet directly with Blue Cross Blue Shield. Say, look, we want to find a way to make things work. It's great if you're telling us you can save money by doing this, but tell us, what are our options if we want to continue doing something? Rather than saying you can slash costs by doing this, well, what are the costs that we incur You know, the economists like to talk about opportunity costs. Opportunity costs are relevant in healthcare. Treatment delayed or treatment denied. What then are you going to be paying for later because this employee has the need for these various surgeries because they didn't get their health under control, and the obesity is probably the single biggest controllable risk factor. So we're going to pay for the heart surgery, we're going to pay for the gastric bypass, we're going to pay for the joint replacements, and we're going to pay for them to be off work. So our productivity curve declines. Or can we find a way to help people make positive lifestyle choices, improve the overall health of our employees, and do it in a way that's still cost effective? So my thinking is that resolution we did that ends coverage the end of this calendar year, the end of December, I'd like to push it back 6 months. Give us time to meet with the Blues. If the Blues can't help us, then let's ask the Blues to justify why they should continue as our third-party administrator. Are they giving us the best deal? Because we pay them a lot of money every year to administer our plan, but it's still our money. It's a self-directed plan, and the coverage is what we say is going to be. They don't tell us what's covered. So I throw it out there. What are your thoughts? Sir.
The problem with some of these bills is when the companies first come out, they get the first right to sell them for whatever they want for several years, so they can't come out with anything generic. The other companies can't compete with them until they've had it. I don't know what the length of time is, but it's several years that they get exclusive right. They developed it, they put it on the market, and then they can charge whatever they want. And if it's a fast moving pill like this sounds to be, the price is going to go up until they can put competition out and bring it back down, because that's the only way.
Yeah, I think the injectables are going to see the effects of competition sooner because they've been out there. It's just a question of coverage scope. Ma'am.
I was watching Channel 22 News this morning, and it came out that President Trump is looking at reducing the price of this drug.
I heard that.
My concern is, even if he reduces it down to about $140, which from $1,000, major cut, I'm concerned that Blue Cross Blue Shield would not reduce what we pay in. And I think whatever committee is sitting there, if it does go into a reduction, need to look at if this cost goes down, will our costs go down?
Mm-hmm.
I just wanted to bring that out to the table.
I hear you. And that's one more reason to make sure they know we are considering options in terms of who we hire to administer our plan. Because if they've gotten so comfortable to the point that comfort leads to complacency, it doesn't hurt to tell them there are other options, ma'am.
There's something on my prescriptions, like now, September, October, the price, the copay is $0 until the end of the year. And they've been doing it for about 2 years, 3 years. Is that Blue Cross Blue Shield bringing something down on their own? Are there any other people that have that?
More than likely, you've met your deductible for the year, and as a result, the remaining months in the year, you have no out of pocket.
Right.
Julie.
I like the idea of forming a committee to work on this. It's unfortunate that this came to us at the 11th hour, and so we're kind of scrambling here. And with our employees, obviously, open enrollment is now, so they have to be able to make their decisions as well at this point in time. GLP-1s are being deleted from all insurance everywhere. It's not just us. And if we're the only ones that keep it, it's just an expense. And I don't think that's a good precedent to set. But I think we should be looking at all insurance options and trying to figure out what's going on and how we can make it better. And is it something different that we need to do? Again, this should have been done back last June, July, whatever, however long it takes, so that it would have been done by now. Hopefully in the future, these things get brought to us sooner so that we can look at that.
Sure. Well, and we're going
Be
to,
proactive.
with the wave of a wand, we're going to add months back to the calendar. Like 6 of them to have that.
But that's an expense that we don't have in the budget. I mean, right now it's out of the budget and we're asking for a balanced budget. So now you're changing it by, if it was $1 million, by $500,000 for 6 months.
I don't know if it's actually 1 million, but we'll bear down on that and we'll find out.
We should know that number.
Yeah.
I just respectfully to follow up on that statement. Last week, this body met for the second time in a budget work session, and the majority, well, all of the attendees made clear that you wanted a balanced budget. That is what we were working towards. If it's the intent of the board to add back an expense, I just need clear direction on what is the board wishing, and is this something that needs to be planned for your November 20th adoption date?
And it may not be 6 months to get this done, but we are under a time gun now.
Yes, sir.
And we can address that. If we throw it out 6 months and don't need more than 1 or 2, great. But we won't have another chance to address this in this manner. And so that's my suggestion. And I believe for systemic reasons, it's warranted. Because we frankly find ourselves in a situation where with the healthcare process, coverage process, the administrative aspect of it, the administrative tail is wagging the dog. And we are where the votes are taken. We are the policy makers, and policy should not be made for us. And then we find out about it after the fact. And we've discussed that. That's got to be addressed. Along those same lines, the list that was put together where arguably protected information was used to mail to employees who are currently taking GLP-1 meds. If there's no objection, that mailing list needs to be purged. It never should have been created. Those letters should come from the carrier, not from one of our employees. And if it's all right with everyone, that list gets purged today.
Because somebody might be thinking of going out.
Are you on? Okay. Anyway, what do you think? Sir?
I love that option, because I don't think you should, that committee should just look into just that drug issue. There were other issues, and you're aware of it,
Right.
of another letter that went out that I got sideswiped by 2 phone calls about the retirees.
I heard.
It appeared, you know, and I'm not saying this is happening on purpose, but and it's not just with this, but it seems this board is always playing catch up with things that they should know about before it goes out. And I'm not saying that's being done on purpose. It just might be an oversight, but like you said, that does need to stop. You know, I'm not pointing fingers or anything, but like that letter, that was a shocker to me. So I'm all in favor of a board getting together, reviewing, finding different options, fixing, us playing catch up with things like that.
Right. Well, and with the GLP-1, if we have roughly 1/4 of our employment complement taking it, it's significant. And if there are other ways to address this, find out, and let's find out at the board level. So are you good with meeting directly with Blue Cross Blue Shield to further this process? Okay, and then, sir.
The only question that I have, and this is just me seeking clarity, the impact on the budget. So if we say push it out to 6 months, are we are we going along with covering this for 6 months and then deciding to drop it? Should we find another plan with Blue Cross Blue Shield or someone else, or I just need clarity on how does this impact us reaching a balanced budget in the next week or so?
It would be a contingency or an asterisk on that budget to keep it in place. And hypothetically, let's say by the end of January or in mid-February, we've got a new plan. We've covered it during that interim. I can't imagine it would take this long, a full 6 months. But I can't imagine the horrendous impact on employees taking it away and then trying to put it back in some other form or fashion, or in terms of the costs. Costco now, I think, is talking about $100 a month for their executive plan members. I may have mentioned that. That's consistent with that report on Channel 22 this morning. There are significant drivers in terms of driving down cost. And so let's find out. The cost benefit analysis should be baked into everything we do with healthcare. And we should be given options, not directions. This is what you should do. This is what are the other ways? And if we haven't explored that, okay, shame on us if we don't. For the sake of the employees, I think we need to.
So Costco does and health insurance and
Oh, yeah,
prescriptions and.
they're big time into that. Yeah, ma'am.
I'm okay with doing the study for 6 months, but I think, if there's options for $100, we don't get the $100. So ours is still 900 or whatever that number is. I'm not okay with continuing it. I would want to be in favor of, it does end. We got to go for a balanced budget. I think part of your reasoning lends to, okay, so I'm for healthcare reasons and losing weight, I'm doing Weight Watchers and it costs me this much. So are you going to pay for that? I'm going to, Bob had brought up, do we do gym memberships, or somebody did? So will you do that? That's also so that I keep my weight. I think it just opens up a lot of areas that we aren't prepared to start covering. And I get that, yes, this is a weight loss product that is out there now, but it doesn't guarantee you're going to lose weight. So
No.
There's never a guarantee. It's a habit thing that you have to do, even for the surgery. People have had the surgery and don't lose a pound.
Yeah.
So.
Well, and if your doctor prescribed something that you would do at a healthcare facility, that should be covered. I mean, if it's done via a prescription, and I think that changes the whole
But
class.
to Brian's point, I mean, that has a major impact on the budget.
Got it. Well, hopefully it would be a minimal impact in the near term and give us some maneuvering room that we otherwise do not have. Ma'am.
So when we met last Thursday, and I too echo some of the comments of Commissioner Werfel, as it would have been great for us to have had a little more runway on this, for us to be able to be aware of it, to have these discussions prior to open enrollment being where we're at right now in the timing. My concern is a letter has already gone out to those employees. We have had discussion here budget-wise. One of the discussion items that we made point of is right now, those drugs are not FDA approved for weight loss, but I do believe that there are some that are right on the cusp of consideration. So we made the distinction when we were discussing last week that it is not, we are eliminating this for those employees who are prescribed this for weight loss, but that it is for those that are prescribed it for FDA approved use of the drug. So if that time comes that these drugs do come into line with an FDA approval, they would then have that option. My concern is this yo-yoing effect that we've got going on, both for our employees, but also for our staff. Are we putting it in the budget? Are we not putting it in the budget? Are we covering it? Are we not covering it? I agree, we should have a cost analysis that should have been done. If it hadn't been done, something that needs to be discussed when we meet as that committee. And I agree that we should be looking at what our other options are, and is there a better partnership that we can have for those that are brokering and managing our policies for us on our behalf. I'm trying to figure out how we make this fit in the timelines. I love the magic wand concept of 6 months being able to do that. I just don't know how we do it. And so I have reservation and concern about that, sir.
Understood.
Thank you.
Anyone else, ma'am?
Just recently I had a physical and the doctor always says, do you have any questions? I brought the topic up. And she was really shocked that Berrien County had that. She says, I don't know many employers who have this in Berrien County. And then she's discussed all the restrictions. The people that I know who's been on them are not on it. She says, being a diabetic means you weren't turned into a diabetic this day and then you get it. You have to have a history of being a diabetic on your chart. She says, now are people following the rules? She says, there are certain rules. I don't know. She says, this would probably, I said, well, is there a time frame that you would ever get off this medication? And she stated, no, you'll be relying on it forever. It's going to be a lifetime to either maintain that weight, and also you have to change your lifestyle. But she wasn't that positive on this whole medication. She says there's a lot of side effects that I'm very concerned about. So I want a balanced budget. And I guess when I was in the State House, we balanced the budget, and we have to balance the budget this time here too.
In pieces then, what are the thoughts of the board in terms of meeting post haste with Blue Cross Blue Shield at the board level to discuss our options, not only in terms of creative ways to either provide coverage or provide a significant cost reduction in terms of the out-of-pocket expense for an employee who is not otherwise eligible to get this medication by a prescription from a medical doctor. That's the first one. Yes, no?
You're talking about an insurance review.
Yeah.
Well,
Everybody good with that? Okay, let's set that up.
yes.
In terms of pausing termination of coverage, what are your thoughts on that while we're doing this review, even if it goes past the end of the 2025 calendar year? Or a period up to 6 months, sir?
I would like for us to be able to do that in as quick as possible so that we're not going over the amount that we need to meet a balanced budget.
Okay.
So if we can get it done without, causing $1 million impact to the budget, I'm fine with that.
But otherwise, no.
If we can't do it within a year, I do have reservations about it.
Okay. Well, why don't we get the Blues down here as soon as we can, and then report back, and maybe we'll have a better idea of what our options are in terms of coverage or reduced out-of-pocket expenses. And then if we need to address an adjustment to the budget via contingency, we can look at it at that time. Would that work? All right, and for now, we meet with Blue Cross Blue Shield representatives to review options, to discuss cost benefit analyses, and depending on how that meeting goes, to ask them to give us a new proposal that explains why we should continue using them to administer our plan. And then so that's one. Is everyone okay with purging that mailing list from county's computers? With the further understanding it doesn't happen again. Okay. All right, ma'am.
And what I wonder is, have we had an increase from Blue Cross Blue Shield just anyway? Do they increase it each year?
So yes, the county's plan on an annual basis will be priced by Blue Cross Blue Shield. And it typically has an inflationary impact. So this year, it was set to go up as high as 15%. With the elimination of this benefit, it would go up roughly 7%.
Any other questions? All right, sorry, we're running a little late. Sheriff, you know, you're still on with admin. And then I'll be joining finance directly with Brian. And we'll be back here in an hour. Thank you.
What are we doing about open enrollment? That's going on right now. So I applaud the board for looking at this, but from an employee standpoint, we all have a letter that says by the 24th, there's a deadline. And part of that is putting money aside in a much more cost tax position to do it. So for the employees, I applaud that you're looking at it, but I also am very confused by what that's going to do to the open enrollment.
Sheriff, I will work to get Blue Cross Blue Shield here at the early part of next week to begin the discussions. We'll also have to address, we have letters of understanding from a variety of our unions that we will have to address, acknowledging that there was an understanding, essentially support for the elimination of this benefit. So we've got a lot to get done in a short period of time.
Does that help?
Clarity for help, yes.
Okay. All right. Okay, we're adjourned for an hour.